G'day folks, look, this is a quick example to show you how to save your HTML documents in a Notepad with a little bit of HTML instructions thrown in there. Now you don't have to worry too much about the HTML right now because you'll be learning that in the step-by-step tutorials that will be coming up soon. Alright, but it is really important that when you're doing it, you do save it properly. Otherwise your browser will not be able to understand it. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start off with the very first tag that your documents will always begin with, and that's HTML. So you should know by now that stands for hypertext markup language, and it's just telling your browser that that's the type of document this is, and to interpret the instructions afterwards in the proper format. Okay, so I've opened a tag. Now it's a really good habit to close a tag straight away. Alright, so these angle brackets just mean that it's a tag, so something is going to be inside it, and this forward slash means it's a close. So if it hasn't got the forward slash, that means it's open. If it has a closing forward slash, that's what it means, it's a close tag. Alright, so we've got the start and we've got the end of our HTML document. Now let's just put in here a head tag, and we'll close that head tag. And also we'll have a body. So the easiest way to remember having these as your basic tags, which most web pages will require, is that us as humans have a head. We have the start of our head, like the top of our head finishes when it gets to our neck, our body starts, and when it gets to our feet it finishes. Alright, so it's a good habit just to get into that to start with by having that there. Now I don't need this space, that's not required. Alright. Now another good habit to get into right from the start is what's called encapsulation. So that means if I do something like this and just space these along a little bit, it becomes easier to see that these four tags here are within my HTML document. Alright, and now within my head tag, I'm going to do the same thing. We can have a tag called a title. Now I've started the tag, so it's a good habit to close it as well. So I'll close that, so forward slash title and then the closing part of my tag. Okay, so now I can see that my title is within my head tags. Now the more complex your code becomes, the more important this encapsulation is, otherwise it is really tricky. Alright, now this is our first page, so the title I'm going to give this page is it'll be my first page. Simple as that. Now the part of your browser that displays that will be this section up here. So for our school homepage, it's where it says Cosgrove High School. So in our example, when we save it properly, it will say my first page. Alright, now in the body, let's put something in here. So let's just write a couple of words. So encapsulating again, I'll say my first line. Now you guys can copy this exactly if it makes it easy for you. And I'm also going to deliberately make a mistake here, and I'm going to put in here my second line. And I'll show you what I mean later on. Alright, so again, I can see that these two lines of code are within my body. Alright, so the head mostly focuses with information about the page, and the body is generally where all of this sort of stuff comes from. Alright, so the main chunk that you see when you actually view a web page. Alright, so here's the bit where we save it. So I'm going to go into my file menu, oops, I'm going to click save, and just on my desktop, I've got lots of stuff here at the moment, but I'm going to change this into being all files. So I don't want to save it as a text document, otherwise my browser will try to read it as a text document and not as an HTML file. So all files, and let's just call it first page.html. Alright, so we need to put that file extension at the end of it, otherwise the computer won't have a clue what it is. Alright, so when the computer tries to read the file, it'll see HTML, it'll recognize that as being a file that gets opened up by the browser, and then it will start the browser, which will then interpret it. Okay, so I'm going to click save. Alright, so that's saved there. Now let's go through and actually find that file. So I go File, Open, if I can find it. I'll browse for it. and first page right here. Alright, so I'll click open and OK, and here's my page. So there it says up the top there, my first page, and here is my writing. Now you'll notice that this is actually on one line, when before we wanted it to be on 2 lines. So I'll go back here. Now this is because browsers will ignore space. They don't really interpret it as being necessarily a new line of code. So there's an extra little tag we need to use here, and it's called the break. Alright, so you can see that as meaning line break, or the enter or return key that's in your keyboard. So if I put this after the first line, what it does is it forces the next bit of information that comes after it to be on a new line. Now also, one of the awesome things about doing web pages this way is that I've got my Notepad open here. If I save it and don't close it, I can just go back to my browser and press refresh, and now I've got my line on the second line as it should be. Alright, so that's just a quick little basic introduction to how to get some of this stuff on a Notepad document and saved and opened up in a browser. So if you need any help later on, don't hesitate to ask, but just remember this video will always be here and you can always go back and double check it again. Okay,